New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.
Welcome to Girls Behaving Metaphysically. Your hosts are two girls who believe that life is awesome, that laughter heals, and that it's possible to find deep spiritual insights in everyday experience.
Here come the girls. It's more than practical. Here come the girls. Way more than merely factual. If you want to know the secrets of a life, it's free. Listen to Girls Behaving Metaphysically. Listen to Girls Behaving Metaphysically.
Hello and welcome to Girls Behaving Metaphysically. It is so hard to have that intro and hear that song and not come out singing. Anyway, I want to introduce you to my co-host today, whether you've been here or not, Miss Savanna, Reverend Savanna Noelle. She has been on many times as a guest, and she is, you might know her as a facilitator, as a motivational speaker. You might know her from somewhere else, from classes. But today she is a co-host and very tall. We're so out of proportion. It's as if you're super tall.
I'm gonna sit. Maybe I need to scoot back. I don't know.
Maybe I need to sit on phone books like when we were a kid. Oh, look who's here. John's here.
Hey, John.
Oh, hi, John. Welcome. So Savannah is co-hosting today for my missing co-host, Dr. Natasha, who will be back next week. And we're glad to have you. So thank you for saying yes.
Totally. I love having a good conversation with you. One of my besties.
It's always a good time. I don't think we've ever been at a loss for words.
This is true. For hours. If we could.
Yes, it's true. It's true. So today's topic is change and transformation. And we're going to tackle that in a little while, but I know that is such an open-ended topic and one that we're generally fond of. It depends what arena we put it in.
Yep.
Yeah. But before we do that, we're going to do our card pull of the week. So I'm going to let you pick what we pull because I have so many cards sitting here. It's ridiculous. These are my decks. I have Numerology, Soulful Woman deck, the Power deck, Sacred Traveler deck, or the Ancestors Path.
Oh, Robyn, that's hard. There's so many.
I know. I left like 4 in the shelf.
Well, the first I got a hit when you said the Power deck.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
We'll see. We'll see what the Power deck brings to us. These are the Cards of Wisdom by Lynn V. Andrews. Okay, here we go. So I will shuffle and I will pull the card when you tell me to stop.
Okay.
And we do this because, we're metaphysical girls. And so everywhere we look, there's always a sign. We're always looking for signs.
Yeah.
It could be in a card. It could come in a song. It can come pretty much any way possible. So we're just seeing what the signs say for today.
And stop.
Focus.
Oh, it's so good.
It's good. All right, focus. Much of what you see in life is an agreement that something is in fact true. To develop power, focus on one aspect of your life. This could be your career, a sport, or some endeavor that you have a passion about. Become an expert. In the process of becoming an expert, you fine-tune your whole being. You collect the important parts of yourself and you begin to live the life of a warrior. Rid yourself of attitudes that are not essential to your task. Collect your energy and focus your power on wondrous and magical acts. Let the shell of your consciousness rise out of the ocean of your subconscious mind. It's just a matter of focus. Oh, focus. That's so, I mean, for me, that feels so appropriate because I'm always doing 20,000 things, always, and every time I think that I'm focusing and I like make this commitment, like, that's it. I am not going to do speaking. I am not going to do things I don't want to do particularly. I'm not going to do this project. Somebody calls and goes, can you do this? And I go, okay. And I'm like, I just took on another project. What's the difference? Why? So focus on one aspect of my life. I don't know. I don't even know if that's possible.
For you, I don't know. You have your focus on, as you said, many different things. But I feel like we could take this in so many ways, like different directions.
Yeah.
We could talk about it in terms of what's happening, of course, at the macro level, which I know we're going to get to. But also, for me, how this just shown up recently is I have just been going through, like most people, lots of transition, lots of change. And I literally asked the question a week ago when I was some things started to fall into place in my life. I had some drama happening and needed to, tend to the resolution of this drama. And then once things started to fall into place, I was like, well, now what? Where do I focus? What is my focus? So much of my energy and time was being spent trying to ground and self-regulate and resolve the things that were happening in the everyday life.
Right.
And yet this word in my meditative practice, everything, it was like, okay, well, where's your focus? And I've been really struggling with, where is it? Where's the direction I want to go? Where do I want to put my attention? And so, yeah, I think there's so many ways we could go with this. It's the perfect word.
It is a good word. It's always a good word. Because I also think, I'm going to generalize, but as women, we tend to multitask more and to be able to take on different things, and then we get caught up in the expansiveness of it all,
And the minutia of it all.
Yeah, definitely. They definitely can be one and the same. Yeah. How about everybody out there? If you're listening, feel free to comment in the chat. We love to hear what you have to say. Where is your focus and I think it's also really important going into the next conversation, like you said, when we get to the macro level, the global things that are going on, it's like, where is our focus? Mm-hmm. Where are we putting our focus?
Yeah. Well, I had the opportunity to meet with a group this morning, a community up in Canada, and the whole meeting was about coming together in community to really ground and talk about how do we manage the everyday right now with what's happening in the world on a political level and also in our own lives, and how they are affected just like all of us are affected. And it continued to show up over and over again of what we put our attention on magnifies. But at the same time, one of my commitments has been this cycle around, in the political realm, is to not bury my head in the sand. And I think the first go around of the last presidency that I wasn't really happy with, I did detach. I was kind of informed, but I think this time around, the stakes feel so much higher. And I along the lines of a lot of Reverend David Alexander's work, the liberation theology of our teaching, like really comes into play for me, because I'm like, well, I want liberation and I want freedom in my own life, and so do other people. And if I'm focused on just being a good spiritual person and meditating and praying, which is all we know, good work, but only doing that and burying my head in the sand, then I feel like I'm not a very good steward and, of what we actually teach in the world. And so that was the whole conversation this morning, was where's your focus?
Yeah. And that's great. And I think people get caught up, when they're on a spiritual journey in thinking that doesn't have the same amount of action with it. It's more about the beingness. And so I think, that's part of girls behaving metaphysically, is that it's to be in action. It's not the standard, that everything is spiritual, and to be able to interpret that and put that into the work.
Yeah.
I got thrown off because I saw Reverend Raymond there. So, hi and welcome, and don't throw me off my game again. No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding. Yeah, and I was going to say, and what you spoke to about after the last election, I'm not sure that a good majority of people didn't go quiet. I think we were, first of all, so relieved that we were like, oh, okay, I can rest for a minute.
Right.
And that turned into a little bit of complacency.
Yeah. Oh, we love you. Yeah. Well, complacency, but also I think it's because there was the constant ongoing sensationalism, but also like the trigger. It was almost like, how often do we want or need to be dysregulated, while watching the news with what was happening? It was like every day we would see something hard or a tragedy, or as if we didn't already, but to the level and to the degree that I don't think our brains can process that, the amount of, dysregulation that provided. And so this time around, I think that's still happening, and it's going to happen, but it brings into the question, which I know you and I are going to get to, of like, well, what do we do about it? And how do we navigate it, the change and transformation aspect, and where is the focus then? This morning, that conversation was really amazing, because we all were on similar pages, but there was just a lot of comment about, as metaphysicians, what our work is in the world. And a few people said, well, I'm just going to detach from it and not, look at the news. I don't watch the news. And I added my contribution and said, I still think it's important that we educate ourselves and we stay engaged, and not blind to what is happening. And I also think it was important to bring the idea in, which is a whole other conversation, about the fact that a lot of us have the privilege to not have to look at those things. There's that whole thing of like, one woman said, well, this doesn't affect me in my family. So it's like, oh, so then I don't need to, be part of that, which I think is really, again, it brings in the liberation theology work too, of that social justice aspect of, treat and move our feet, but also like, we can't just sit and pray about it. We have the privilege to not have to engage at that level.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I was, before the inauguration and stuff, I between the election and the inauguration, I really was like, okay, I'm going dark on social media, on TV, on news, on all of that. And I was really, I was like, I just couldn't buy into it, because I was hearing everybody's theory and everybody's fears and clients with fears and talking about it all the time. And I just didn't want to, be part of that media part. And at the end of it, or towards the end of a couple of weeks ago, I was like thinking to myself, wow, it's kind of quiet. Maybe he's changed. Maybe and then I realized, like, I turned on the TV one day, I was like, oh, Oh, that was just me really being not engaged and not having an opinion about it, and it's interesting to live in the world where to be engaged in it and still not have an opinion, but not be guided by everybody's thoughts and feelings and being empathic. There's a lot of fear running. I got family members moving, to Spain and doing different things. And like, there's a lot of fear. My cousins who didn't want to be in Carolina on the day of the inauguration, just in case they're African American, just in case of any kind of thing. And I'm like, oh, okay, let me come back to the balance it out. It's an interesting time.
For real.
Yeah. And Ramon says, we don't sit and pray to eat. So why would we for equity? Yeah.
For sure.
Yep. Very, very true. So,
well, and also the whole idea of what you focus on expands. I met with my practitioner this week, and one of the things we talked about was how much am I feeding the fears? Because, for 48 hours, I think, before the inauguration, I was a total mess of anxiety. And I don't typically get that. I mean, I have struggled with anxiety for a long time, but I've always had the tools to manage it. And I was just on the couch, just like unable to get out of the depths of that fear, of that anxiousness, of that feeling of doom, around the corner. And so it was like, okay, well, are you feeding fear or are you feeding love? And what would feeding love look like?
Mm.
How would my experience be different? It's all that mind stuff we talk about. The work.
Yeah, it's the work. It's the work. And that, I mean, that's part of why it was so interesting for me to take time off from hearing it on the media and really being that connected, because I was really able to go, okay, I'm gonna pray and hold this space and do what I need to do, the work of what I believe in, and things like that, but to really not put the focus on the man,
It's tough.
It's no joke. It's no joke, this work, everybody. Mm-hmm. So anyway, we're going to come back. When we come back, we're going to talk about changes and transformation, as we've already begun to talk about it. So don't go away. Stay with us and be with us when we get back here, right here on New Thought Media Network.
Please help us say thank you to our organizational sponsors, including the Hefferland Foundation, Affiliated New Thought Network, International New Thought Alliance, Science of Mind Archives and Library Foundation, Center for Spiritual Living Denver, Center for Spiritual Living Midtown, New Thought Philadelphia, Planned Happiness Institute, Summit Center for Spiritual Living, One Heart Retreats, Center for Spiritual Living on the Lake, Unity Kitchener, Unity Spiritual Center Ottawa, Om Center for Spiritual Living, Satya Center, Begin Within Ministries, Center for Spiritual Living North Jersey, Unity of Savannah, and the Center for Spiritual Living Seattle, as well as all of our individual donors. Thank you for being part of the New Thought Media Network. Please like, share, and subscribe. New Thought Media Network, positively inspiring.
Welcome to Girls Behaving Metaphysically. Your hosts are two girls who believe that life is awesome, that laughter heals, and that it's possible to find deep spiritual insights in everyday experience.
Here comes the girl. It's more than practical. Here comes the girl. Way more than merely factual. If you want to know the secrets of a life that's free, listen to Girls Behaving Metaphysically. Listen to Girls Behaving Metaphysically.
And we're back. We're back. If you can't help but come back with a smile from that song, right?
Yeah.
That song was written and sung by the fabulous Ray Davis.
Love it.
Thank you, Ray Davis, for all that you do with your music in the world. So, change and transformation. Ready, go.
It's such a big topic. It's like the topic. Yeah.
Well, I will say I was just talking with somebody about relationship. I'm going to start there since we've already touched on the other. About relationship and how hard it is to leave a relationship and that change and that kind of transformation. And they were having a hard time, because they care about the person, but the person is just not right for them. And I think we all go through those kind of changes. And how do you navigate them with, I know the answers, you call me. but besides that, how do you navigate that and still, stay present? You know what I mean? In a way.
You mean like navigating the changes of relationship? Well, I feel like for me, that's just been an ongoing, as you know, evolution and journey of learning about myself and what's good for me, what's not good for me. Again, what direction I want to go in. Does this person add value and make me a better human being? Are we compatible? I mean, there's so many questions to ask, but I think that something, and maybe it's just my Sagittarius spirit, I don't know, or maybe it's just me. I've always just been resilient. There's always been this just knowing, with the help, of course, of many of my girlfriends and friends in my life who have continually reminded me where my power actually is. And so, it's having a deeper relationship with myself, I think, has been a huge part of the reason why I'm able to move through these things. I mean, yes, having a relationship with myself and a higher power, to me, that's just one and the same. It's like part of me. Yeah. So having that awareness, then I always know I have myself to come back to.
Right.
So, and it hasn't been an easy road. I think that, girlfriends have often been like my cheerleaders and saviors in many ways, just in terms of giving me perspective and seeing what I learned from that experience and why it needed to go. It just wasn't aligned anymore. And also that there was a trust, again, the journey with trust, the journey with faith, the journey that there's something bigger and better and greater waiting.
Bremont says, not everything that is faced can be changed, but nothing can be changed until it is faced.
That's really good.
I love that. I think, it's true. It's the awareness and the journey with trust and faith, because I think that whenever in relationships, one tends to doubt their decisions, but at the end of the day, I feel like people always know anyway. Right?
Yeah. Well, I think it's the fear of the unknown. I think it's the fear of not knowing what's on the other side, the fear of being alone forever, the fear of not having that kind of love again. And I feel like the very fact that you could recognize the contrast or recognize what you so loved about this person, the absence of them still allows us to know that those qualities are in ourselves. And so for me, it's all, that journey of relationship has primarily always led me back to myself. a hard road at that, but but yeah, it's always led me back to me.
Yeah, and Ramon is saying people don't resist change; they resist being changed, and that's so true, right? I mean, because it's, as I was sitting with a client, it's all, yeah, it's the resisting seeing what's happening because of the idea of what you have, or what you want, or what you think it can be, and the fear of losing it, when in reality it's not there anyway.
Yeah. Or you just can't see it because you're so stuck in your attachment to what you think it should be.
Right.
That there's a loud noise on the line. I don't know what that is.
Yeah, I don't know.
But it's what you think it could be. God, there are so many experiences I know in my life, and you know of them too, where I just thought it was the only way. Like, I didn't want to get out of it, even though I needed to get out of it. And there was so much resistance to leaving it because I couldn't see what was on the other side. And then when I got to the other side of it, I look back in retrospect, as we all do, and go, oh my God, why did I stay so long?
Right.
But it also, in retrospect, I can see the gifts that it gave me, and the journey took what the journey took, and the change and the transformation had to happen on it happened on my time, and other people would have definitely loved it if it hadn't have been all in my time. But it took what it took,
Yeah, and I think it's the cycle of life, right? I think it's all about change and transformation. I mean, even what we're talking about with the new government, and any new government that comes in, or things, there's going to be change, and it's where do we land in that, or in a relationship, there's going to be change, and even when you're in a relationship, there's change. Mm-hmm. And transformation. I mean, being in a long-term relationship, I can tell you that we have change and transformation all the time, Mm-hmm. And it's good. It's good. It doesn't always feel good. It doesn't always feel comfortable. It's not always, what I want. But at the end of the day, it's it's how we both grow. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. And I also think that over the years, with the number of what I would consider hard things that I feel I've been through, it starts to refine you and shape you and deepen you if you let it. And for me, having all those experiences now, I know that whatever is thrown my way, even if it's the most devastating thing ever, I know I'm going to get through it. I was literally just having this conversation with my mom the other day about this, that no matter what happens, I've developed a network. I've developed a self-esteem about myself and who I am and how I want to be in the world. Like, the resilience is there, and I feel like that's what a lot of people are probably grasping for right now, is the sense of control, a sense of themselves, a sense of making sense of what's happening, a
sense of normalcy.
Normalcy. Yeah.
Whatever that is.
Yeah.
I mean, right? I mean, there's so many things about what's normal that wouldn't have been normal 10 years ago or whatever. You know what I mean? It's so interesting. It's so interesting. I don't know. Like, I mean, what struck me during the last few months is how often everybody's like, I don't know what's going to happen, and I don't know this, and I don't know that. And I kept thinking to myself, and we never know. We never know. Just because the person we wanted got elected or whatever, we don't know what's going to happen. I'm like, what's so different? I mean, I know the answer on one level, but what's so different really in reality about now?
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah. One of the things I talked about in one of my talks as of late was this idea that back during every war we can imagine, during World War II, during the times when I know I wasn't on the planet, people always, there was some theme in the air of this is the worst of times, this is unprecedented. And maybe it was then at the time, but there's always been some sort of sentiment around this is the hardest thing we've ever been through. And while I do think the stakes are a lot higher because of the evolution of consciousness and humanity and what's going on with all the spiral dynamic stuff, yeah, it feels more intense now than ever before. But people have always gotten through.
Exactly.
And
we've always gotten through. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I have to believe that, we are our consciousness, we are carrying the frequency for the new paradigm. And I think that I'm not trying to be airy-fairy, but like staying in what we know to do along with action and being honest and open and real and awake and aware. I mean, I think that's the key. That's where the strength and the power and the things are going to emerge.
Yeah. Well, because it serves a greater purpose. And I mean, even just looking at the example of this in action from the bishop who spoke up at, what was that service?
Right.
And the way in which she spoke was so calm and direct and kind, and it was bringing in unity, but also calling out what it is and asking for mercy. And to me, that was just like a direct demonstration of exactly what you're talking about, of holding truth with a capital T,
right?
Holding the space for that, even though now she's being persecuted and, condemned and criticized and all the things.
Yeah. Yeah. Michael and I were talking about that before the show, that's just the place. I mean, her actions were so in integrity and kind and truthful
and courageous.
And I mean, but it is courageous to be awake and aware and call people on what you see and what you know. Yeah. I just want to share that Shay says, I needed many years by myself to create any sense of self-esteem. I'm so grateful for this time to truly heal the relationship with myself. Yeah. And at the end of the day, isn't that what we're doing with all of it?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know why we had to learn this way. I don't. I'm like, really? Why?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, but for whatever reason, here we are.
Mm-hmm.
Thank goodness we're in this together. Yeah, but it is an interesting time. And, speaking of change and transformation, I mean, I think there will be a lot of both, looking at change as just more of a process that alters something, and transformation as significant change that usually improves something, that usually, makes it better. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so that's, what we're standing in.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
It's a lot.
It's a lot of work.
It is a lot. And it's also wonderful to know that the more people I talk to about this specific thing of change, transformation, the unknown, things feeling like they're out of our control, the more I realize that I'm not alone. And the more I realize how important community is, people getting involved in community and people that lift them up.
Yeah. So Raymond has all that you touch, you change. All that you change changes you. The only lasting truth is change. God is change. Octavia Butler. Yes. Yeah. I mean, it just brings me into the fact that we're just living in, it's all an illusion, it takes me to that place of it being an illusion. It's like, because we're like talking about change, we're all of these things, and I don't know, is there change and is there this and sorry, I just went into a metaphysical zone of whatever. You know what I mean? I mean, at the end of the day, there's a part of me that feels, I don't anybody tell me that I am more than this, because I get it. But I feel that feels like totally insignificant to the process. And another part of me that knows that I am the solution to the process on some level. You know what I mean? It's so interesting to hold that juxtaposition.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what's John saying? I was listening to a rich spiritual teacher say life is complex. The comments from you two reflect this complexity, and the reflection needed to embrace the complexity. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm like, can we bring it from complexity to simplicity?
We know complexity.
Too.
Yeah.
I do. I mean, I made an intention around the holiday time coming into this new year that I was really ready for a life filled with newness. So I'm currently working on aligning more with my purpose, my next steps, where I want to go. Again, focus. Where do I want to focus? What is my next thing? And really committing to stepping off the struggle bus that I've been on for quite a while, and really looking at that, and what we know is that when you intend something like that, guess what shows up? I intended for myself to do things differently. I intended for newness, and that's absolutely what's happening for me on every level, is all of these new things. And it's forcing me to rise to meet it.
Yeah, but I just want to say, along with that, yeah, like you said, things show up, and also things show up to deter you from that or to teach you whatever.
Yes.
So can I share with them?
Which part? What thing?
About your car.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. So in the midst of all of this, declaring off the struggle bus, mm-hmm. Savannah's car gets stolen.
And vandalized.
Yeah. And this was after other trauma, so it's like once you make a declaration like that, things show up like that, right?
Yep. And totaled. So I thought it was going to get fixed, and then it was totaled, which was like, okay, I guess I'm not supposed to have this energy in my life anymore. But the way that it took me to get that, I could have done without. I've yet to pick up the understanding or gifts of what that was about. But to your point, when we set an intention like that, what is that thing? Everything unlike it shows up for us to look at. That was just one of many demonstrations of, okay, this doesn't align anymore. It needs to fall away. This doesn't serve you anymore. What does serve you? And I think when we're asking those questions, sometimes what happens is we then go into a void, because the thing that we thought served us before didn't. And so for me, I've been living in a kind of a dark void of the unknown, like many people, of not knowing what's next. And so I declare the newness, and now all that other crud had to show itself. So that is for it.
No, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, and I think, and I don't want to complicate things, but I think sometimes we complicate things in life. Like, I don't know what that meant and what I was supposed to learn and everything. And I think on the one hand, the whole car situation, mm-hmm. maybe it was just about learning that you're more than this, mm-hmm. That you didn't have to stand, because you went in a little bit into, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? How am I going to make this, mm-hmm. and you made it work, and you have another car, and money came from wherever, and da 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 da. So it's about really trusting and showing us, look, you got this. It doesn't have to be, what's the symbolism of this, that, and the other thing, and just really staying in all of that.
Yeah. Well, and I think that at the end of the day, when it all came to some closure, it was, again, another demonstration to me of my resilience and of my ability to act and for things to work out for me. Right. Like everything works out for me is the mantra that I've, written down here. Everything always works out for me. It doesn't always work out in the timing I wish it did.
Yeah, exactly. Just sharing that Wayne said the book of Science Mind tells change your thinking, change your life. The infinite potential of the universe is always responding to the pattern of your thoughts. Yes, and that's what I'm saying. So, I think it's as simple as that. That you needed to know that you could maneuver that situation, on some level. I think part of the growth.
Yeah.
Yeah. Shay chose qualities of grace, gratitude, good, and glory for the year. And I've been working through the complete opposite of this, just like I did last year with love, acceptance, and harmony. Yeah. It's interesting. It's interesting. I think that's it's interesting the way it all shows up.
Mm-hmm.
That's the nature of spiritual growth. Yep. It is the nature of spiritual growth. Well, I declared this year that it was going to be the best year ever. And I decided I was going to live that for how people do that thing where they have a date, a day or whatever for the year or a week or whatever they do. But that kind of commitment, I was like, I can do that. I'm going to just stand in. This is going to be the best year ever for the whole year. And I'm going to meditate on it. I'm going to remember it. And I'm going to, try to utilize it in my, stuff. And it hasn't been bad. So I can't really speak to the bad things. It hasn't been, but I do wish I could deroute the struggle bus. I would be very happy if it didn't pass through my neighborhood. Could be a lot easier, but a lot of good things have happened. And somebody called me the other day and they were like, I want to talk to you. And I thought, oh God, they're going to ask me to do tech support for their class they're teaching and da 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 da. And they went, I want to gift you tuition to Sister Spirit. I was like, oh my gosh, which is a retreat done by Reverend Abigail in Seattle. And then they're like, they started to say and you would need to pay for your transportation. And they go, and if you want, I would go to Costco and get the gift card for Southwest, and you could buy your ticket that way, and I would pay for that. I was like, oh my God. Because every time they ask me to go, I'm like, yeah, I don't think I can. Finances.
Mm-hmm.
But things like that are showing up. And so I know that if you stand in it, it will happen. Not willing to risk the unusual, you will have
to settle
for the ordinary. Yeah. We don't want any stinking ordinary here. We are metaphysicians. Yeah. So, I get, and that just speaks to what you were saying about, where your attention goes,
Well, also, one of the practices that I think we have to get into is, and that it's something I'm working on, is it becoming rote. When I was steeped in, I don't know how to say this, but being actively in a community and teaching and speaking and, which I'm not doing as much now, having that means that it's constantly in your consciousness. So you're working it all the time. So it's not difficult to just sit and drop in. Whereas now for me, I have to really, really spend the time and focus of shifting and getting out of the place of victimhood, out of the place of struggle, out of the limited thinking and all of this stuff, just to get myself aligned enough to be open to the idea that something more is possible. And if you're not used to that, and if you don't have the tools and you haven't practiced it, then it becomes harder, And so for me, I am like, okay, how can I become more aligned with my creativity? How can I become more aligned with where I want to go, and what is going to be required of me to do that? And it usually is calling a girlfriend, calling my mom, going into meditation, journaling, some form of spiritual practice that allows me to come back. So like what's real, so that my creative ideas start flowing again. Because when you're in a survival state of fight and flight, which I know I've been in for a while, it's really difficult to focus on anything else other than the struggle bus. But there's something else possible here, which is what our teaching has, afforded me and so many people for so long. It's just reminding myself of it and having other people remind me of it when I get down in the dumps,
Right. Yeah. And I think, what you're saying, I resonate with, because for me, having the best year ever is doing all the things you just said, is being more creative, is living in my passion, is, making time for the things I love, as opposed to, just going along with the flow of things.
Yeah. It requires vigilance. It requires patience and it requires practice.
And it also requires, this goes along with vigilance, but it requires an awareness of what you're calling forth. If you're calling forth peace and love, and you surround yourself with people that are negative or buy in and hop on the struggle bus with you, like, oh God, yeah, it's only going to get worse. There's only going to, that kind of attitude, then you're not being real, because it doesn't work. So it's like, in order to move out of this space, you've got to be aware and willing. And I think Shay speaks to that often, her willingness to let go and, and go make another choice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yes, it's roller coastery for sure. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, holding gratitude and grief, it's tricky, right? It's tricky. And again, it speaks gratitude and grief. I mean, grief is a circumstance, right? And so it speaks to the fact that we are more than this, because I think when we're in grief or pain or any of those things, whatever it is that pulls us out, it can be something as simple as a blooming flower outside, or something we see and touches us or reminds us or brings us back to the fact that we are more than that.
Yeah.
So it's really, can we live that? So like, what would you say? What are the steps, or what is a nugget of something you would, I know you've already said several things, but that you would really say to start to live into that?
Well, this morning, as I was saying, I was meeting with a group from up in British Columbia, and they were talking just about this very thing. And something that maybe I underestimated it, the power of, which is community. And one of the people in the group mentioned that we're looking less to our leaders at this moment and more to each other, and more to our closest people. And so for me, and what I would offer everyone watching this is to find at least one person that can hold truth for you, that can know the truth about you, that can uplift, support, listen, hold space, even just hold space. I have this, you just said, you didn't say it quite like this, but you said, we are more than this. And I have this sitting on my desk, which is, you got this. Same idea, but I would say it starts with that of, look at who's in your orbit. It's also engaging in the kinds of things that we put into our brains and our minds. The amount of time I know for me that I scroll and look at my phone is like insane. So it's like, again, reclaiming our power, reclaiming our attention, reclaiming our focus, and really pivoting of like, where am I going to put my attention today? And as you said, Robyn, that is the mindfulness practice right there.
Right.
when I go into fear, can I pivot? When I go into anxiety, can I choose something else? Can I know something else, which is the mind work,
Right.
paired with this work? Because not everybody, I don't think everybody can sit in meditation. You know, I get it. Not everybody does that. Even me, like a few days ago during the inauguration, I was sitting in meditation and I was so distracted. I could not pull myself into a centered, calm, grounding space. And sometimes it means we don't sit and meditate. We get out and move and do other things, you know?
Well, and I think that's a whole nother show, because I think meditation can look all different ways, right? And sometimes I think, like if you can't meditate, if you can't sit there, that's fine. And so adjust it to how it serves you. Watch the thoughts go through, bless them, and let them go. Maybe your meditation is trying to tell you something that way. Maybe your message from God, it comes through a different way. And I think, we can meditate while we're washing the dishes, or doing mundane things like that. I mean, I just think there's different ways to be in meditation. But yes to everything you said. And so I guess the question for everyone is, where are you willing to put your focus? Where are you willing to put your focus during this time of change and transformation? And
what is most important? Like, what is most important to where we put our focus? And what's the cost of not doing that?
Right.
Like, we all know the cost pretty well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. So
it's requiring so much more in us, I think, especially as empaths, where you're just taking in all the world. And this is, I know it's kind of a buzzword like right now, but I talk about it all the time because I know it works, which is this learning to regulate our nervous systems. Like, because we're being bombarded constantly with all of the noise and people's opinions and thoughts and energies and negativity and fear and all that stuff. And it's like, the work that I can do right now is calming my nervous system and protecting that little inner child in me and doing what we're talking about, knowing the truth.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And that again is another show as well. I mean, just all that we're bombarded with, right? And trying to hold a space. I mean, we're bombarded with so many things that we don't even register, on this level, and trying to still hold that space and be that place of, whatever, peace, love, whatever in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. They say there's no mistake that we all signed up for this time, So I guess it's really quite the journey. And I guess I'll just leave you with, there's so many great things that happen. I love Ramon's quotes. But I think, during this time of change, it's really about looking at, what are you willing to change? And where are you willing to stand? And where is your focus?
Mm-hmm. And are we being good and gentle and kind to ourselves and each other?
And each other.
Being there for each other. Yeah.
That's all.
Like talking, I get the best of all worlds because I get to do this and then I can just call you and like talk to you. Just, and just that in and of itself changes a whole vibe of a day. It can.
Well, yeah. And like you said, it's about having your people, having your person, knowing that person you can go to and be real.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this has been a super fast hour with my real person here. I'm so glad that you could be here.
Thank you.
Join us. And it's good to have everybody out there, Shay and John and Wayne and Ramon and all of you that are quiet and not saying anything. We see you. We know you're there. You can't fool us. But we're glad you're here. So we hope you'll join us next week. And in the meantime, as Reverend Savanna said, be kind. Be kind to yourself and to everybody else. See you next week.
Bye, everybody.